On today's quick podcast, I want to talk about 5 elements, in my opinion, the best keynote speakers in the world share. Because of these 5 elements, the message is way more important than the messenger.
Welcome back to the Thermostat with Jason Barger. If you're currently on a commute, a walk, or just a micro break in your day, glad you're making time to step back, to think, and to reflect on the next steps on your journey. I've never been more convinced the best leaders and team cultures in the world are the ones that make time to step back, breathe in good oxygen, and calibrate their thermostat. I hope today's conversation leaves you feeling grounded and inspired. Now let's dive into today's topic to engage our minds and hearts in order to authentically lead and create compelling cultures wherever we are in the world.
Hey everyone, it's Jason, and welcome back to the Thermostat Podcast. Wherever you are and however you're coming to the podcast today, welcome in. So glad you are here. So glad you are joining us. We're in Season 8, over 230 episodes now of the podcast. So welcome in to all new listeners. Anybody who's joining the podcast, I invite you to go back, listen to old episodes. So much great content, chats with thought leaders, just great topics that I think will add value and contribute to your life and work. And for those of you that have been with us from the very beginning, welcome back. So glad you're here. As you know, and I talk about in my book, Thermostat Cultures, a thermometer thinking is very reactionary, and thermostat thinking is proactive. And so when we talk about shaping the culture in our own lives, shaping the culture of our teams or our organization and where we work, we're trying to shift our thinking from that kind of reactionary thinking into proactively thinking about what is that future that we're trying to create together. So my promise, as always on this podcast, is no matter when you're listening to it, I hope it's an opportunity for you to step back, for you to think about the temperature you're trying to set in your life and your work, and then hopefully get filled with some good oxygen, as I talk about in my book, Breathing Oxygen, to give you some good oxygen, to fill your mind and your heart with some stuff that will sustain you for the path forward. So glad you are here and hope this is an opportunity for you to do that. Before we dive into today's topic, if you'll do me the quick favor and rate the podcast 5 stars on whatever platform you're on. I keep being encouraged to tell you this, so if you will, pause for a second, rate it 5 stars. If you have the ability to leave a review on whatever platform you're listening to, if you will leave an authentic review, your own words, that's powerful and helps the algorithms find the episodes and then share them with more and more people, and that obviously is the point. So every time you share the podcast, whether that's on social media, if you're willing to do that, or just inviting people on your team, your organization, hey, here's a topic that we ought to listen to and talk about together, those are ways in which the podcast spreads and these messages are shared, and it's all free with the hope of sharing these kind of messages out into the world. So thanks to everybody that takes a moment to do that. I was about 5 minutes from being introduced the other day at an event in Cincinnati, Ohio, when a guy approached me, somebody that was at the event, approached me and asked me if I knew Matt Foley. Did I know who Matt Foley was? And as I searched my mind quickly, I knew the name, I recognized the name, and then all of a sudden, quickly, images of Chris Farley's iconic Saturday Night Live character flooded into both our memories as the two of us stood there laughing and telling stories about Chris Farley's character from that SNL skit where he was a motivational speaker who was living in a van down by the river. And the skit was hilarious and, of course, was a funny shot across the bow of any and all people that are referred to as motivational speakers. But here was this guy that was living in a van down by the river and would come in with this funny energy, and just, you could tell the whole thing just seemed ingenuine, fake. And due to references like that around this idea of motivational speaker, I anytime somebody has referred to me as a motivational speaker, again, due to references like that or just my own feeling around that term of motivational speakers, is I got to admit, I get a little bit cringy whenever anybody says that, when somebody refers to me as a motivational speaker. And part of it is because this connotation is that motivational speakers aren't genuine, or that it's just about our performance, or it's I don't know, it's cheesy in some way. And so anytime somebody is inquiring or asking me, thinking about me as being a speaker at an event or someplace, for their company, and they ask me, very seriously, am I, that, or refer to me as a motivational speaker, I often say back to them that yes, I hope my words are certainly motivating to people. So in that sense, yes, I guess I'm a motivational speaker, but I don't think about it that way. I do hope the message engages the minds and hearts of people, that inspires a positive step forward. But I guess I think about it a little differently. So powerful keynote speakers in my mind can make a tremendous impact because they can challenge people to think differently, pause to reflect on how they are approaching their life and work, and then inspire positive change. A good keynote speech is a planting of seeds that lead to better growth in future seasons. So on today's quick podcast, I want to talk about 5 elements, in my opinion, the best keynote speakers in the world share. Because of these 5 elements, the message is way more important than the messenger. But before we dive into today's topic, let's pause, take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Many teams and organizations right now are realizing that they need to do both. They need to engage the minds and hearts of their people in person, where everyone in the room can experience the energy of congregating together and find clarity for the road ahead. And they also need to continue to find ways to engage the minds and hearts of their people virtually, with those who are working remotely or at a distance. So, if you are in the process of planning your next team meeting, company all-hands event, conference, or culture summit, and are looking for support with a powerful keynote speech, facilitated team conversations that are the currency for change, or deeper development on leadership mindset and an intentional strategy for the culture you're trying to create, I hope you'll contact us at jasonvbarger.com, jasonvbarger.com. It is my privilege and our honor to partner with great people to provide support in these areas. We want to breathe oxygen into your leaders and throughout your organization so you can set the temperature you want for your culture. We look forward to connecting with you soon. I hope you'll contact us at jasonvbarger.com, jasonvbarger.com. It is my privilege and our honor to partner with great people to provide support in these areas. We want to breathe oxygen into your leaders and throughout your organization so you can set the temperature you want for your culture. We look forward to connecting with you soon.
Again, a good keynote speech is like a planting of seeds. A powerful speech can challenge people to think differently, pause to reflect on how they are approaching their life and work, and inspire positive change and next actions to take place. I'm lucky to be someone as a keynote speaker that gets to plant those seeds, be somebody that hopefully, inspires that kind of positive change, it challenges people to pause and reflect on how they're approaching their life and the work and maybe think differently about it. I'm lucky and honored to be somebody who gets to plant those seeds. But I'm also grateful that with many of the teams and organizations, I also get to play the role of helping to water the seeds. And what I mean by that is, with many of the organizations that I serve over a longer period of time, often which is often a partnership of a year or longer type of agreement, I'm helping to carry the messages from the keynote speech further by helping to water and nurture the seeds of a development. And so working with their team over time to help develop their leaders, proactively shape and lead their culture, and seek clarity on their mission, vision, and values. True development, as we know, occurs when the entire garden or ecosystem is cared for and intentionally tended to. And oftentimes, though, it can start, the planting of the seed can start with that powerful keynote speech, or that moment of clarity where we invite people to think differently about something. We inspire them to think about what does positive change, or how do we might reflect on the way they approach their life and their work, and then what would the future actions look like. The planting of seeds often start in those kind of keynote speeches. And so for today's episode, I'm sharing 5 elements that I believe the best keynote speakers share. The first one is relevant and needed content. Relevant and needed content. This may seem obvious to you, but there are many wonderful speakers and content in the world that's out there. But the best are the ones who are speaking to relevant issues and needs in the world. They're not just talking about nice ideas, but relevant and needed content. And so when I think about this for myself, when I see the trends that Gallup is telling, and all the research that begins to rise up that's talking about the lack of trust in leadership in the world and the direction that organizations are headed, and that very few people feel connected to their organizational cultures, and yet 90% of people say that's what they want. When I see things like that, the relevant and needed content is to help people better understand, well, what does authentic leadership look like, where we can build those levels of trust. And then if people are craving more meaningful cultures, then what is content to help us reframe the way we think about and develop leaders and compelling cultures? That kind of content is as relevant and needed as ever. The second element that the best keynote speakers share, in my opinion, beyond relevant and needed content, is that they themselves and what they're there to talk about is authentic and genuine. It's authentic and genuine. And maybe this is part of my cringiness around the Matt Foley or the Saturday Night Live skit around a motivational speaker that lives in a van down by the river, is that it doesn't feel authentic, it doesn't feel genuine, it doesn't feel real. And so the best keynote speakers in the world are, in my opinion, are authentic and genuine. My observations are that audiences can spot a fake from a mile away. They know when it is a performance versus a genuine message that the speaker believes in. And I know, by the way, many events out there that are just looking for performers. And in many, there are many events that's what they're looking for, and they think they just want a performance. But my opinion is the speakers who truly impact positive change are the ones that authentically connect with their audience, and it feels like a conversation with each other rather than someone who's performing for or talking at the audience. So the best keynote speakers are relevant, speak to relevant and needed content. They are authentic and genuine. The third thing is they share stories that engage minds and hearts. They share stories that engage minds and hearts. The best in the world use stories, illustrations, and examples that engage the minds and hearts of people. Humans think in stories and are drawn to good stories. And, this has been true since the beginning of time. And so the best keynote speakers involve powerful stories and illustrations that move people's minds and hearts, where they feel connected to not only what the message is, but a story that they remember that will help carry them forward with that message. The fourth element I want to talk about is the passion and energy that the best keynote speakers in the world bring for the audience. Is the speaker focused on the image of being the speaker, or is the keynote speaker passionate about the audience and their opportunity for the road ahead? I've observed that the best keynote speakers have a passion for the subject. Obviously they do. They're passionate about what they're there to talk about. Again, it's not just a performance. They have passion and energy, but the energy that they put forward is palpable because the energy and the passion is not just about the subject, but it's about the people and the future of the people that are in the room, that they have an opportunity to speak with. And so the passion and energy they bring is palpable and is something that the focus is on the people in the audience and the future that they are hoping to create. And the fifth element that I'll share, not the only element, but the fifth element that I'll talk about today, is they have the best keynote speakers in the world and the best keynote speeches have a bias toward action. The best keynote speeches leave people with some ideas about their next steps, some clarity around what are the next steps forward, and encourage them to have that kind of bias toward action. Not busyness, not giving them just something more to do, but intentional action that for their life and their work actually moves things forward. So the best keynote speakers in the world, they bring these 5 elements to life. They share relevant and needed content in the world. They are authentic and genuine. They share stories that engage minds and hearts. They share a passion and an energy for the audience, for the people that they are there to serve, and they encourage and share a bias toward action. What are we going to do to bring positive change into action as we move forward? So, as always, I'll leave you with some quick questions to ponder. What content or topics are relevant and needed within your team or organization right now? What stories or examples would help engage the minds and hearts of your people for the road ahead? And what's the bias toward action that is needed in your life or work? I hope today's episode got you thinking in some new ways of a deeper dive into any of these topics, or if any of this is helpful to you or your organization, I hope you'll reach out to us. info@jasonvbarger.com, info@jasonvbarger.com via email, and let us know, and we'll continue to reach out to try to be supportive and continue to design content to help meet you where you are on your journey. Lastly, I'll encourage you to go back and listen to old episodes, check out old topics. Again, there's so many great topics, especially even just in this last year, that have really resonated with a lot of people. So I hope you'll listen to them, share them, rate them, leave authentic reviews, share them with other people. And those are the ways in which all of these messages share. Remember that the future of leadership is you, is me, is us. We have an opportunity to set the temperature for the cultures that we're trying to create, and then have the courage to continue to show up and breathe good oxygen into ourselves and into the people around us. So let's remember to step back, remember, be a thermostat, and breathe good oxygen.
Thank you for listening to today's podcast, and I hope the messages and questions stimulate positive change along your path. As always, if these messages resonate with you and add value to your life, I hope you'll help amplify them throughout the world. Please rate, comment, and share on whatever podcast or social media platform you're using, and share this podcast with the people in your life or work who should be part of these conversations. That way, this spirit does, in fact, spread. If these messages or developing leaders and culture would be helpful to you and your organization, please contact us at jasonvbarger.com, jasonvbarger.com. And remember, we are all ambassadors for the culture we want to create in our life and work. We have to own the vision we want to be a part of. The future of leadership is you, is me, is us. Be a thermostat.